Good to see you, Jan Rogers-Kniffen. Thank you for being with us. So Amazon boxes everywhere. I mean, what are your thoughts on Amazon?
Well, there's Amazon boxes everywhere at my house too, so that's not too surprising. But short term on Amazon, I'm relatively bullish based on the cash flow and growth of AWS in 2024. And there's a lot of speculation out there that they could get to back to 175 or even 185 just on those two things alone. But even if that's true, my concern is what happens beyond 2024, right? Because to succeed as an operational business, don't we think the street really wants Amazon to have a much better grocery business and a clear strategy as to why they can have a much better grocery business? Because they haven't done so well there so far. And they need for their AWS business to regain that big primacy that it used to have in cloud computing. Even those things probably aren't enough because they probably also have to have that basic retail business just work in both 1P and 3P, and they have to be more aggressive on either stock repurchases or something to give more back to the street. And that's really seems like a tough assignment to me. I look at it and I say, wow, Walmart's now the best retailer in the world, and they want to do everything Amazon is doing, and they're doing everything they do really, really well. And, Amazon's been pretty much uncontested for 20 years now in most of its areas. And now every place you look, there's competition for Amazon, not just from Walmart, but certainly from Walmart. So longer term, I'm not so optimistic on Amazon.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, if everybody could catch up in different ways. However, it has everything. You mentioned grocery, you mentioned the retail side. You have Amazon Web Services, Amazon Prime, where we can watch movies. I think it's the whole behemoth of all things Amazon. So many of those Amazon products in the ecosystem, like Alexa and such. That's the thing, right? Do you see growth in any of those areas for Amazon?
Well, isn't that kind of the same story we've always had on Apple? I mean, they've got this fabulous, I'm going to watch, right? I'm talking to you on an Apple. Everything I've got is Apple, and they've got this nice system. But even they've got competition, right? And we've seen that get harder and harder in the space. That's what I think is happening to Amazon. I think they're a fabulous business for distributing things to me one-off to my house, and they do it all the time. But when I look at what Walmart's doing, they have really caught up in a lot of those areas. And then other areas like cloud computing, there's a lot of competition there from really big players. So I just don't think it's as easy as it was. And I think it's going to get harder, not easier, because Walmart's actually getting better at everything they do. Microsoft's really good at what they do. Those competitive pressures are going to be there. And I think that's why the stock's sitting where you see it today. They've had a pretty tough 2.5 years here.
And, it's funny because look what happened with Tesla, right? They were the leader in EVs, and then all these EVs are catching up. When you talk about Walmart, right, we just had the 3-for-1 stock split announcement, more stores. Is Walmart still your favorite in the retail realm? What are some of your favorites in retail for 2024?
Well, when I look at Walmart, I say in a lot of respects, they're like Amazon, right? They have this enormous, fabulous retail business. And unlike Amazon, they're really, really profitable in retail, but they're also investing in all these other services for other retailers, just like Amazon has. So, they've got their own AWS type operation. They've got their own 3PL thing. They've got their own marketplace, and they're doing those well, and those are going to grow. So, yeah, they're my favorite. I say all the time now, they're the best retailer in the world. I used to say Costco is the best retailer in the world. They're still fabulous, but I've got them in second place. Amazon's not a particularly great retailer. They've had a good retail business, and they've put a lot of that money into other things they do well. But now in those other things they do well category, they've got lots of competition from really big tech companies. So, AI is going to change the world. And if Amazon capitalizes on it better than everybody else, they'll be the big winner. But don't we think everybody of the big tech guys, as well as people like Walmart, are going to all capitalize on AI too? So I just think they're no longer that huge growth story they were. They're still solid. They're still good growth. I still love them as a company. But the question is, once they get to that 175, 185 range again, are people going to look out in the future and go, yeah, they can sustain this multiple because all of these various components are going to grow? I think it's hard.
Yeah. So Walmart beats out Costco on your list. Just quickly today, and I know you didn't have time to study this one, so it's not a quiz, but just the big picture sometimes on these special brands. Today we have AS, Amerisports, and under the umbrella is Wilson for tennis, Louisville Slugger bats. For me, the skier that I am, Arc'teryx, Atomic. I mean, they have Salomon sneakers. And it reminds me of Canada Goose, a name that you've talked about many times. A little more specialty, a little more upscale. Thoughts on these kinds of names? I guess you didn't have time to study AS today, but any thoughts on sort of specialty brands?
Well, I'm a big fan of specialty brands that have equity value in the customer's mind. And that little portfolio they've put together that you just named, those brands have been around a long time and they have primacy in the customer's mind that mean, hey, these things are good if you buy this brand. And just like you said in skiing, we all know that, that's a good way to get the customer's attention by having a brand that you can carry over time that still can do the cutting edge things. That's kind of the portfolio they've put together. And I do think all those brands work well. I also think, for instance, like at ABG, all those brands they put together work pretty well too.
Yeah.
And the brands you just named that they're carrying at AS, those basically have higher end value than the kind of things that actually ABG has put together. And I do think that we're going to see aspirational brands do better over the next year or two than we have seen for the past couple of years.
Yeah, well, I love it. And I aspire to get back out on those slopes wearing the stuff and feeling great. And just so you know, it hasn't started trading yet. It did price at around $13 a share. The indications over my head are showing $13.10 to $13.50. So that will begin trading soon. Amerisports is the listing here today. And when you said AS, I almost remembered ANS. Abraham and Strauss, remember that one? All right,
we
thank
all remember
you,
that
Jan
one.
Rogers Niv, and yeah, I remember that we had it in Manhasset. Thank you, good to see you.